we are, for those who don't know Focus, we are an organization that actually try to make the move to the UK as easy as possible for those who are in an international move. Among all what we do, it's we support those who want to have a career in the UK, and we have a career development program. As part of this program, which I'll be very happy to talk about to those who want to know, we have webinars, and today's webinar is part of it. So, job search strategies. The webinar is led by Jelena Radonjic, who's been working with us for a few years. We know her very well. She is a career and leadership development coach, a long experience, and she also is helping in those who are in a career transition, and recently has agreed to share with us the possibility to access a video that she has on career transition that really helps people who are on those paths or want to see if this path is good for them, and follows them very, very thoroughly. And so whoever was interested in that can give me, send me an email, and I can send information as well as a discount code that Jelena agreed to have for our members, for the Focus members. But with no further ado, I'll leave the floor to our speaker today, who'll talk about herself a bit more, and then we'll go deep into the webinar. It's 1 hour. I know Jelena has a lot to say, so if you have any urgent question, please put it in the chat, and then she'll decide if deal with it straight away or do everything at the end of the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Gail, for having me. Delighted to be here today. While I'm starting to prepare to share my screen, could I invite everyone attending to type in the chat box, maybe just a sentence or two about what prompted them to attend this webinar. I always love to get to know my audience, and that also helps me maybe adjust my content a little bit during the presentation. So what are you looking for? Are you just curious? Are you transitioning? Are you looking for a new role? Are you new in the UK? Whatever the scenario you're in, if you want to share in the chat box, that would be fantastic. And let's see now if this is working. The screen is shared, right? Fantastic. Okay, I will have a look at the chat box from time to time. But as I said, it would be really nice to share maybe just a word or two about you. And thank you for those who are starting to contribute. First of all, I'll do the proverbial tell them what you're going to tell them. So my presentation is going to be about 50 minutes. There's a lot in there. And you will see that I will be covering a lot more than just the job hunting strategies. And I will also explain why. I'll be giving you a wider, broader context in which you can apply various strategies or consider them, first of all. I will also share with you a couple of brief case studies of my clients who achieved success in what they wanted to achieve by using some of those strategies, often really doing unusual, interesting things, so that you can get some inspiration and maybe try out these strategies and techniques. Also, I advise you to have pen and paper or type on your device if you prefer, because there will be some questions I'll be asking you, or you may want to note down a couple of key points for yourself. So I'm ready to get going with this. I have some introductions. Peter, yes, Peter, lovely to have you here. I know you too. We have Omotayo, who said the classmate recommended it, doing an MBA. Fantastic. Validating approach. New in the UK. Okay, fantastic. Consultancies, nutrition, humanitarian setup. Okay, looking for a more fixed job in the humanitarian area. Interesting. Okay, so quite a different mix of interests and profiles. I'm pretty sure everyone will have quite a few bits to take away, but do take what applies to you and what you find useful. Very briefly about me, my corporate career, which started in Japan a long time ago, was in recruitment. So I was in recruitment for 25 or more years, really internationally. After spending 4 years in Tokyo, initially in the graduate and early career recruitment, I then moved to London, where I ran for 6 years the European operations of these Japanese companies. So essentially what I was doing, I was sourcing and selecting top talent for global companies in Asia, Europe, and the US. From there onwards, and that was a long time ago because I've been in London for the last 26 years, I had a number of roles, always on the provision side of recruitment, working with global companies, sourcing and selecting talent, gradually moving to mid-career and senior space. In my last full-time employment, before I actually launched my career coaching consultancy, I also worked in the space of higher education management. So my clients this time were business schools, where I helped them pre-select executive MBA and MBA students. So it was also kind of recruitment, but not for jobs, rather for education, which gave me a nice overview of what we call a career, really, a lifelong journey of personal and professional development. Made me think and see how education can impact your career. And also, being curious as I am, I also observed many different scenarios in terms of people really leveraging their education to build fantastic careers. I've also seen those who had great education but didn't actually do much with it. I've also seen people without much education who did fantastically well. So that prompted me to think and want to investigate, okay, so what are these factors that make a difference? Why are some people more fulfilled and successful than the others? You will also notice that in the first slide, and apologies, I didn't introduce myself, Maria did, Jelena Radonjic. I call myself a career fulfillment coach, even though officially I'm a career and leadership development coach. The word fulfillment is there because I care very much about people being fulfilled in their day-to-day work, because we spend an awful lot of hours working during our lifetime, around 90,000 hours apparently. So we want to make sure we use this time wisely and we actually enjoy what we do. So in parallel with my corporate career, I also was always interested in philosophy, psychology, human development, human behavior, human potential, and I immersed myself in a number of personal development programs, transformational coaching, and so forth. And I worked with some big thought leaders such as John DeMartini and Deepak Chopra. All these were fantastic, life-changing experiences. So into my coaching approach and methodology, I bring together my knowledge and understanding of the world of work and careers, recruitment experience, my business acumen, but also this aspect of a lot of mindset work and doing deeper work with my clients to really help them to facilitate with career transition or progression. To date, I coached around 300 clients, if not more, through either one-to-one group coaching or various workshops that I give. And Also, I like to write, research and write, and I publish for Forbes Coaches Council, Thrive Global, and so forth. And I speak like this. Some of the recent corporate workshops I gave were at Amazon and Maersk, and otherwise, these are some of the companies that my clients land roles in either during or after coaching with me. So I wanted to draw your attention to why is it important that we also understand the bigger picture and what's happening in the world. I'm sure everyone's experienced, perhaps in different ways, the disruption that has occurred both through various technological advancements in the last 10 or more years, but particularly with the results of the pandemic and its aftermath. So the way we work, the way we perceive work, the way we understand work, and also how we want to work has fundamentally changed. So we see remote working as you know, a totally valid option these days, and a lot of employees actually seek that. And hybrid ways of working, apart from the office, part remotely, is becoming the norm. There are lots of challenges in there in terms of establishing visibility, making your personal brand stand out, and generally, how do you connect with people? How do you negotiate? How do you engage when you're not in the same room? So all of these are various challenges. And at the same time, we're experiencing something called the Great Resignation or the Great Reshuffle, where a lot of people have started to question the purpose of their work and life due to pandemic, and have decided that perhaps they don't want to do anymore the same thing that they had been doing. They realize that they want to have more impact, more direct impact perhaps with their work, that they want to work for an organization or in a role or industry that supports the causes that are important to them. So I've certainly experienced this with an influx of clients from 2020 onwards who came to me with these thoughts and requirements. Why is this important for you? First of all, of course, in order to build a career plan and strategies for anything, you need to understand what's going on around you, but then also to understand what it is that you want and what it is that you bring to the table as a person and as a professional. And you will see that most of my presentation is centered around these two and matching them. So do you have a career plan? And if not, why not? Do you have a medium-term or long-term plan? Do you also consider what is within your control and what is outside of it? Obviously, the pandemic, which has caused a lot of terrible things to happen, even people losing their loved ones, losing their health, losing their jobs. Currently, we have a war going on in Europe. All of these things are really difficult. And it is difficult to navigate one's life and career choices in that context. But I would invite you to ponder on what it is that you really can control, what you can influence, and what is everything else. One thing that I keep coming back to is that you can certainly control how you respond to these events. So I'd like you to take that away from what I'm talking about today, because it is a very empowering point of view and way of being. How do you make career decisions? Do you have a conscious approach to your life and work life? All of these questions are very important. Now, for those of you who have taken my career fitness quiz, you will recognize some of these areas that I included in my quiz as well. And I will be referring to some of the results of some of the stats that I had from this quiz, because it's really interesting to see you know, how people are dealing with various areas of their career. So some of the questions that you definitely need to consider when taking a strategic approach to your career is, first of all, do you know and honor your values? What are your core values? What are your career related values? Do you use your top strengths and superpowers at work? Are you aware of your superpowers? In other words, things that you really excel at. Are you happy in your current work situation? What stage of your career you're at? This is very important, and I will be reflecting on that when I specifically dissect various approaches and job hunting strategies in the latter part of my presentation. Are you clear on your career direction? In other words, where are you going? Are you change ready? Now, more than at any time in the history, I guess, at least from what we remember living in the 20th, 21st century, this is now more important than ever, exactly because of the disruptions and everything we're experiencing. So it is about cultivating the growth mindset and mindset which allows you to flow with change, embrace change, and even create change. And then, do you have a clear personal brand? Again, super important in these days where a lot of our presence is online. And then what about your network? I will touch upon the importance of these a bit later. Excuse me. So what I decided to share here with you is actually my approach and how I structure my work with my clients. What is my methodology? First and foremost, it's about finding out more about yourself, building this awareness that is really a foundational key thing for you in order to be able to do the rest. The next step is research what's out there, which means identifying, exploring opportunities and qualifying them. And then only once you're clear on these two, or as clear as you can be, creating a career plan and matching the two and then executing. So basically, I will be covering all of this today, even though I promised I'd just cover these two, because they really go hand in hand. So let's move on. Looking at the first circle, research yourself. I always insist when I work with my clients on developing this clarity. Because if you're not aware of both your skills, strengths, passions, but limiting beliefs as well, and your values, it will be difficult for you to take a conscious approach to creating your career strategy. So these are some of the key elements that I would advise you to look into. You can do this kind of self-reflection after this workshop, or you can bounce back ideas with a friend, a colleague, a mentor, or a coach. So values, strengths, mindset, and overall career direction. Of course, there's a lot more, but these are the bare essentials. Now, this was taken from about 80 plus questionnaires or worksheets rather from my clients. And I wanted to show you this to prompt you to think about what are your core values and what are your career related values. Essentially, we all want similar things in our life and our careers, but yet we all want different things, or we prioritize them differently. I use specific exercises to help my clients extract this, but you can also look back at how your work to date panned out and look at when were you really happy and when you were not happy in a workplace. And from there, see which values were actually honored and which ones were not. Again, as you can see, there's a variety of things. Some people would value more work-life balance. Some clients I see, they say, I want to work in a company that actually promotes diversity in the workplace. For some people, money and benefits and financial rewards is a top priority, or perhaps once they do a bit more digging, it slides down to number 2 or 3 because they realize that, you know, they want to have more impact in and inspiring leadership. So, key factor to consider. The results of my career fitness quiz, which I occasionally extract from what people say, and there's been about 500 people from around the world that have taken the quiz, shows us actually that half of all the respondents either don't know what their core values are, or they're not aligned what they're doing is not aligned with their core values, which to my mind is a little bit sad, because how can you build a meaningful work life and career if this is not happening? So I encourage you really to dive into some self-reflection. Next thing, what is also, of course, important is your strengths, skills, interests, and passions. What are you really good at? How do people see you? Ask your colleagues, you know, what are my superpowers? What do you think I'm really strong at? When do I shine? That sort of thing. Or you can even think about, okay, when I'm at my desk, well, in the times of physical sharing of the office, when people come to me for help, what do they ask me about? Because these will be your unique superpowers. Moving on, we're still in the first circle, mindset. I cannot emphasize how important this is. And if you follow me on LinkedIn or read any of my content, you will see that I go on and on and on about this. This is not just because I like that, it's because there's scientific evidence that mindset is an absolutely crucial factor when it comes to both fulfillment and success, whether you are employed or whether you are an entrepreneur. And so the key factors that I consider here are saboteurs or limiting beliefs, your attitude and how you define fulfillment and success, and also how change ready you are. I do a lot of work on this with my clients. If you're interested for any resources, please do get back to me afterwards, and I'll happily send you even some tests or some articles to read. But I love this quote. It is hard to fight an enemy who has outposts in your head. This is absolutely true. And I'll show you in some examples how a change in mindset can actually propel you to a different place in your career. And now I would also like you to contribute, ideally, if you'd like, in the chat, or perhaps you want to write it just for yourself. But I'm interested in, how do you define fulfillment when it comes to your work? What does it mean to you to be fulfilled? Would anyone like to share? What does it mean to be fulfilled at work? There are lots of different definitions of fulfillment. I personally like this one, which is very simple: a feeling of pleasure and satisfaction because you're happy with your life. How simple but profound this is. You can just insert here work life. Okay, we have a share. What do we have? Delivering successfully against values. Yes, brilliant. Recognition that will allow me provide for my family. Okay. To do work that fits my core values while being able to earn a good living. Brilliant. To be recognized when one does a good job. Excellent. So you see, even from your definitions here, you can extract some key values again. What's important to you? Delivering successfully, being recognized, earning a good living, but also doing a good job and learning. In any case, only you know what this means to you. And then, yes, only 4% of my quiz takers are actually really fulfilled. Only 4% of people said, yeah, I'm super happy where I am, which is a bit scary, because that means 96% are either totally unfulfilled or they're kind of, could be better. So this is something we all need to work on. And then I also wanted to invite you to define success, because again, it's a very personal thing. What does success mean to you? I specifically or deliberately split fulfillment from success, because I've seen people who are successful, really successful on the sort of surface, on the outward looking, but inside they're not happy, they're not fulfilled. And that prompted me to look at, why is that happening? I love this definition because it says that success is the state or condition of meeting a defined range of expectations. My question here is, whose expectations are you meeting? But also it's very relative. it really means we all have different ideas of what makes us successful. The important thing is to understand how your idea of success is linked to your idea of fulfillment. Are you following someone else's idea of success, or is it your own? And also to be flexible and to know that this actually can change and evolve during time as we move through various stages of our career. The final bit, or just before final in this part, is about readiness for change. I think in my quiz, I ask how prepared you are. So part of it is being prepared. In other words, yes, you have your CV or resume. Yes, you're prepared for interviews. Yes, you're using LinkedIn, all of that. But what's happening in your head and your heart? You know, are you really open to change? Are you embracing change, or are you creating change? What I see with most successful people and leaders in particular is that they create change. Or people, they create change who are proactive and create opportunities for themselves. Very briefly, a case study from a client I worked with quite a while ago, talking about saboteurs. This lady, super brainy, computer science, PhD, she was teaching at a university and so forth. The main saboteur was control. In other words, she felt very uncomfortable leaving her children with anyone else, and that's why she didn't want to go back to work. Now, when we started working, her kids were not babies. The elder one was getting ready for secondary school. The younger one wasn't super young either. So it was really about learning to trust and dealing with her control issue. Let's call it that. And also hypervigilance, kind of creating difficult scenarios in her mind. And then as she had the breakthrough through our coaching, she was able to let go of that and find a way to balance her career aspirations with her family aspirations and obligations. And then she landed a role with civil service, by the way, which she really coveted. And that was fantastic, really great outcome. But the issue was that it was really in the mindset. So the moment that changes, things open up. And now the final bit around career direction within the first circle is, obviously, do you know what your overall career direction is? Because if you have this mapped out, and I'm not saying you have to plan now for the next 20 or 30 years and know exactly what you're going to be doing, but it is advisable to have a general sense of where you are going. Then you will be able to create this for you. Again, the results of my career fitness quiz say that more than half lack clarity on their career direction, or they're really confused, which again is something that definitely needs attention, because how can we get to our end goal if we don't know where we want to get to or where we want to be? Very quickly, an example on career direction. This lady, we worked for a while, and she came to me because she wanted career progression. She wanted a promotion. And as we gradually looked at different things and explored, it turned out that there were so many blockers. I don't want to go into details, but none of them had anything to do with her. She was brilliant. She even had a patent to her name, fantastic data scientist. And then we just came to the conclusion that she will be better off looking somewhere else. So this is the change in the sort of immediate career direction, because she thought, I want a promotion, I want a promotion, I want to stay here, I want to progress here. The moment she opened up to the ideas of at least looking what's out there, what else is out there, she landed several offers, and she moved from one major company to another giant tech company, where she's really, really happy. So moving on to, after researching yourself, researching what's out there. Again, you need to have understanding of the bigger picture. What is the job market like? at the moment, who is, employees obviously have more bargaining power than before because of what's happening recently, but specifically what's happening in your industry. Who is hiring, who is firing? If you follow me on LinkedIn and connect, you'll see that I often post updates on this, like these are the top 20 or top 50 companies that are hiring a lot these days, or these are the top 50 UK employers which have been voted the best workplaces in the UK. So you need that information to actually be able to build an overall understanding of what's happening. What are the hot skills and roles and companies and industries? What's in demand? Is it what you are doing in any way linked to this? If not, have you considered, or would you consider doing some upskilling and reskilling, because that's often necessary in fluid times like we're in right now. And then it's all about what appeals to you and matches both your requirements and their requirements. So that's why when you research, first of all, yourself, and then what is out there, then we start looking for this perfect fit, or as good as possible. What is PEST? I include this here very quickly. This is, again, political, economic, social, and technological aspect or situation. So again, hugely important with everything going on, what is going on politically, how is that affecting global economy, how is it affecting the economy of the country or place where you live, how is it affecting the industry in which you work or the industry in which you want to work, and so forth. Now we're moving to, just checking time, to the last two segments, which is creating a career plan and then dissecting various strategies. Isn't it tough to see who is firing except for reading the news headlines? Yes, that is true. But I would also say, apart from reading headlines, you can find this information through your network. If you cultivate your network and grow it and expand it, and just have chats with people, it's just about, keeping a finger on the pulse of what's happening. So, career plan. What are we looking at here? First and foremost, again, it's what do you want? What do you really want right now? And what do you want long term? Sometimes I see clients who have a job, they have a relatively comfortable life, great, but they want to transition. They don't want that anymore. They want to move into a different industry or different role or whatever it is. In that case, they can afford, so to speak, to take a slightly longer period of time, for example, working with me or whoever else for 6 months, 9 months, even a year, to gradually build that transition. I also have clients who are out of work. They have been made redundant, or for whatever reason, they currently are not working. So in that scenario, what I tend to do, what kind of career plan we put together, is that I help them, if that's an issue, of course, I help them get an income coming in doing what they could do at the moment, so that that pressure is alleviated, so that then they can focus on this. By long term, I also mean, of course, medium term. So it's really important to know how important and how urgent all of this is to you, and where do you fit? How do you fit that in a time scale? I also advise you do your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. You can do this on yourself as a professional, but you can also, whichever role you're considering, or say a job posting, you can also do SWOT and see how that fits in with your overall plan and your desire. One thing again, which is again about mindset, but super important. I often see people get overwhelmed, and no wonder, with everything going around us and many pressures we're experiencing internally and externally. Sometimes making a career decision and making a transition, whether it's progression or, radical transition, can seem very daunting and overwhelming. It's like a big mountain that is in front of you and you don't know where to start, and it's just weighing on your chest. So what do you do then? By taking this mindful, conscious approach, you can start to break things down into smaller chunks, and then ask yourself, what can I do now? So really focus on the present moment and just choose one thing that you know you can do today, and then do it, and then see where that leads, and then gradually you can build on that. Again, looking at ways of working and how people work today, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, there are many different scenarios which we can either find ourselves in or create them. So depending on that, the strategy will differ as well. By simple or complex career transition, I mean, for example, simple is if someone is just moving to a different company, same industry, pretty much similar role, or maybe a step up in the role. Complex are the ones that you are probably more familiar with, I imagine, if you have been living as expats, or perhaps you've been with someone who has had an expatriate life or lived in many different places. So these are indeed complex transitions, and I often facilitated them. And they're the so-called double jump or triple jump, where I've had clients and I've seen people who change not only countries but continents, completely new cultures, who change industries, companies, and even roles. So this can be like, wow. So for this, you definitely need to allow time, and you need to be patient and empathetic with yourself, but you also need to persevere. I had a client recently, last year, who is from Chile, but when we started coaching, she was in Australia, and she was finishing her master's in sustainability and environmental protection. And before that, she had a career in financial services in fund management. So gosh, there was so much to bridge. But it was possible to do through consistent exploration and reevaluation of what's available, and bridging the gap in terms of what do you need that you currently don't have, but the employers in this sector or in this industry are looking for. Career progression, relatively straightforward, again, depending on your ambitions and what you want to achieve. Portfolio career. Now, lots of people these days have portfolio careers. I just spoke to someone, not a client, but really interesting person, who said, I don't know how, I don't want to let go of this. He's very creative and using photography in his leadership development coaching, but also he's a learning and development lead within a big company. And I said, you don't have to drop either. You can do both. Or you can look how to bring more of your passion for visual and your creativity into what you're doing, in your learning programs at the organizations where you work. So I also see people who have in parallel 2 or 3 careers that tend to be mostly part-time. But again, if this is the case with you, great. But just make sure that you know that this is what you want, and then be unapologetic about it. But again, you will need a lot of careful planning how to fit everything in. Freelancing, again, this could be part of a portfolio career, or could be just a transition period. And then entrepreneurship, which again is a different beast. But I've helped people set up their own consultancies and businesses as well. So these are some of the top tips for a successful career plan. First of all, check and evaluate and revise your goals. Are they realistic? I love to challenge my clients and take them out of their comfort zone, and definitely push them to think beyond what they think is realistic. But also, on the other hand, you have to get this reality check, maybe with a friend, a family member, a colleague, a mentor, so that you can start to build and execute this plan in a realistic way. Awareness, I already spoke about. Decisions are conscious, habits are not. I absolutely love this quote, and it is something that I advise you to dip in from time to time to check. Are you aware of what's going on? Are you honoring your values? Are you following what you said you were going to follow? Now, stay on course, but also be flexible. What does this mean? It sounds a bit contradictory. This means, for example, I have clients occasionally who start to be approached by headhunters when they're working with me. And they get these incredibly lucrative offers or teasers to go on interviews and so forth, where they can make a huge salary jump or whatever, but essentially the role or the industry or the company just doesn't fit in with what they want. It doesn't align with who they are. It doesn't align with their values. So in that sense, don't drift. Stick to what you know you want and what works for you. On the other hand, do be flexible. Consider opportunities that maybe you haven't considered before, but always cross-check with your values, with your priorities, and with your longer-term goal. Complex transitions take longer, absolutely, and it's very important to have a learning mindset throughout this. Now we're finally coming to the bit because of which you probably signed up to the webinar, but it was really important to get this context before. Now, once you've researched yourself and what's out there in the market, you found the perfect match or several options that you match and you want to pursue, and you've created a sort of a career plan, at least with some direction, then you want to see, okay, how do I execute this? So I'll spend a bit longer on this slide and talk you through it. What I listed here is by no means the only thing that exists out there that you could try, but these are the most common ones. First of all, applying through job portals. Yes, by all means, look for what's advertised out there, but I can tell you that a lot of people do just this and then they get nowhere. So ideally, you want to combine this with other approaches. Sending speculative applications, what does that mean? That means if there is a company that you really like and you kind of follow them, you want to work there. So what do? You send your CV and your cover letter on spec. In other words, there's nothing advertised there. Now, this can work for small companies and medium-sized companies. It's pretty difficult with really big companies. Actually, as a matter of fact, my last full-time job, which was with QS, where I worked with business schools, that's how I got it. I met the founder, the MD, in a business meeting when I was in a previous company, and I really liked what he was telling me about the work, and his associate as well, what they were all about. And because I wasn't really happy where I was, I just sent an email to him and I said, look, I really like what you're doing. I checked your website. I like this, that, and the other. I'd like to work with you or for you. Do you have anything for me? So that was a speculative application. And then I had a round of 6 or 7 interviews with various departments because there wasn't anything open, but we really found a good match between us. And then I did land a role in a department that I wasn't super keen on, but I was there for a year. I showed great results. And then after that, I asked to be moved to a different business unit, which then I took on leading and so forth. LinkedIn. Okay. I can only say all the best about LinkedIn. Whatever you're doing, no matter what industry, you need to have your presence there. You need to be using LinkedIn effectively. I'm sure other coaches talk about it a lot more in detail, and I can talk just about LinkedIn for like 3 hours, how to use it. But I just want to draw your attention to something important here. Don't use it just to apply for roles that are advertised on LinkedIn. You can do that as well, even though in the last, I don't know how many years, I think I only had 2 clients who landed roles applying through LinkedIn. Okay, it's very competitive. If you look at stats, it says like 260 people have already applied for this job, or 50 people. But how you want to use it is really to network, to find relevant people in your network, to learn about people. Now, I'm curious about people. I just love people watching on LinkedIn. You may think it's weird, but I can't tell you how useful that is and exciting. I just want to see what they're doing. How did they get to the role where they're currently now in? What courses or education did they do? What kind of events are they attending? And I can't tell you how much useful information I get through that, plus various cross referrals and collaborative things that spring up from that. Very quickly, an example again from my own personal experience. Once, a while ago, I went for an interview to a business school for a role in their careers advisory. And the person who interviewed me was great. We really clicked, and I decided to, we connected on LinkedIn, and then I decided to look up his profile. And then I saw that in addition to working there full time, he was also freelancing for a career coaching company that I had never heard of. And I thought, this is really interesting. So I click on that. And then I click again, and that takes me to the founder of the company, her profile. And the big banner behind her says, we are hiring. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. I will apply. So look, this wasn't advertised at all. It was just me being curious, following one thing and then another and another, that landed this opportunity. And I applied. I had numerous interviews, and I got in. And I was freelancing for them for a few years. Loved it, got really great clients, fantastic experience. Now, there was no way I would have found about this if I hadn't been just browsing and just checking things that look interesting. Networking and referrals, super important. I will show a case study in a minute about how my client got a role through networking, and many of them do. But it's really about being open-minded, curious about people, connecting with people, exchanging information, not thinking that networking is something you have to do only when we're looking for a role. It is a way of living and being, really, particularly when it comes to your professional life. The hidden job market, I already gave you two examples how I actually landed roles, one with speculative application, one with just browsing through LinkedIn. And I'll tell you in a minute about a client of mine who actually got a role that wasn't advertised at all. I mean, the role didn't even exist, but it was a very fortuitous connection. Recruitment agents and headhunters, by all means, important. Job fairs and other events, professional organizations. You know, if you are an accountant or a lawyer or an engineer, or you work in pharmaceuticals or whatever, there will be loads of these. Make sure you join these groups, because you will learn about opportunities that way. Now, what I did here was I evaluated these methods based on where you're at in your career. As you can see, if you're early career, job portals, great. For mid-career, for senior, no, very rarely, I would say, apply for a CFO role on a job portal. I mean, I'm not saying discount completely, but I think that this would be the evaluation that I would suggest. Speculative applications in early career could be really difficult. With mid-career and senior, yes. LinkedIn, excellent for everyone, and networking referrals also fabulous for everyone. The hidden job market, again, may be a bit difficult with the early career, but absolutely a must for later stages of career. Recruitment agents, headhunters, again, for early career, yes, there are those that deal with graduates, but it's really more valuable for mid-career and senior people. Career fairs, job fairs, again, for early careers, by all means. Mid-career, it depends. If you have a very specialist skill and the job fair is about, I don't know, IT specialist of that kind, or data scientist or something very specific, then yes. For senior, not really. But then again, professional associations and affiliations, Very important because they feed directly into your network. We are coming to the end of the time, so I'll just squeeze this in. I promised in the webinar that I'll tell you why is it that when you do something different, you get a different result. So this is a client of mine who wanted to transition from financial services into tech or media. And we worked together. He got to the final round with Amazon. He didn't get the role, so he was getting a bit despondent. And I was like, no, look, just keep going. By the way, the names are not their true names of any of the clients. And then I really pushed him to change his mindset around networking. And I said, look, if you reach out to 20 people, maybe 10 will not even reply. Maybe 5 will reply. Out of those 5, 1 may be golden. And that's exactly what happened. He applied for a role with Sky, like Sky Media, and he found on LinkedIn the person who was leaving the role for which he was applying. And he connected. Now that is something new. I haven't even done that. And that was fantastic that he did it, because he built rapport with this person. He even gave him some tips on his CV. They really struck a good relationship. And even though my client didn't progress much with the role at Sky, this new connection of his said, look, I don't know why you didn't get a role, but where I'm going, I will need people exactly like you. And 6 weeks later, he landed a role at TikTok, which was his dream company to work for. And there you go. So this is the best example of networking and tapping into the hidden job market by doing something different, really different. So to summarize what you may be doing wrong, these are some of the points that I identify keep coming and coming with my clients. If you have no career strategy and you're being pulled in many directions, that's going to exhaust you and probably not give very good results. Don't do just one thing when job hunting. Always combine 2 or 3 different approaches. Don't be fixated on your CV. Yes, CVs are important, but they're there just to open the door to the first interview. So there's a lot more to do than this. Again, if you don't have strategy, you apply for this, that, and the other, and you may face rejection so much that you lose your confidence because you're not focused. And then being headhunted, as I mentioned, how can that hurt you? Because sometimes the opportunities that come to you are very flattering, but they're not really your preferred ideal fit opportunities. So be careful. What do you need to do instead? Have a clear career plan and strategy. Ask when it comes to networking. Just keep going, keep asking, keep finding information. Be curious. Be also intentional and focused, and make your personal brand work for you. In other words, your online presence. I think I'm coming to the end of my presentation. Very briefly, if you don't take action, again, these are the scenarios I see with clients. You know, they can stay stuck or frustrated, burnt out, stagnant. Believe it or not, I have to share this. I heard a new term, which is bore out. So there's burnout and there's bore out. And indeed, I do have a couple of clients who are incredibly bored. They're at high level positions, they're being paid, but the work has just stopped and they're doing very little for months. And of course, they don't want to be in that role anymore. So whatever it is, if you're not happy, do take action. Again, some samples or other examples of different scenarios. This lady was averse to trying out her network and particularly working in pharmaceutical company. And then her friend said, look, who worked in pharmaceuticals, said, I have this role at the moment, just have a look and, you know, apply. And then, not I have this role, sorry, the role is available, but the friend wouldn't have a decision-making power. So my client opened up her mind and tried something new and landed a fantastic role where she's really happy. Some of other results my clients get, I'm sharing this with you to show you that it is possible, to encourage you to persevere, to not give up, to get clarity, and then chart that path forward, and then choose the appropriate strategies for you. I will share my link to my calendar in case you want to book a 40-minute complimentary session with me. That's possible. And also, if you're interested in my video course, Career Transitions Made Easy, then we will share the link. And then for a discount code for Focus members, you can get in touch with Maria or myself for that matter. So that was it really. I know this was quite long and I hope everyone is still there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jelena. And I see there is a question in the chat. If you want to read it through, or you want me to read it, we can maybe discuss it a moment, because we are we have 5 minutes, but maybe we can say a few extra minutes if there were some questions.
So for executive search headhunters, it would really depend on what industry you're in. I don't know if you'd like to unmute yourself, GL. I'm not sure who you are, but it really depends, because certain industries have really well developed headhunting services that accompany them. So how you would target? Oh yes, you're unmuted. Please carry on.
Hi everyone, thank you very much, Jelena, for this. The question is related much more to the executive search companies, that you know that they are very good across industries. I don't know, like Korn Ferry or
yes, the big ones,
big ones. The reason for that is just because the clients, they are far more related to the kind of work that I would like to do, which is in marketing, and that's why, but sometimes it happens across industries. And I have seen that the recruiters, that sometimes they are niches, possibly they are not that good, because possibly that has to do much more with the nature of headhunting, you know. And I have seen the difference between Korn Ferry and the recruiter. But sometimes I feel that there is a challenge there to target them, and just because they are multinational ones, I feel far more comfortable to display my international profile as well. You know, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I would still like to understand if you have a particular industry in mind and particular type of role. You said marketing.
Pharma.
What is your ideal? Sorry?
Pharma.
Pharmaceuticals. Okay. Yes. So in that case, I would really suggest you look for niche headhunters that deal with pharma. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, message me, I may be able to recommend some, because I also have contacts in that industry. Because yes, the big ones like Korn Ferry and alike, Egon Zehnder and so forth, they're great. But you can benefit more by contacting and connecting with more specialized ones that are really niche for your industry. Now, when it comes to Brexit, gosh, I'm not very happy with not happy at all with Brexit. Who is? Maybe some people are. It has really complicated things a lot for a lot of people. I have seen, though, people still landing roles and getting sponsored by companies, even if they're not UK residents or UK nationals, but it is more difficult than before. So if you remember, I talked about complex transitions taking more time. Probably this one would qualify as a complex one if it involves a visa issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Any other questions or comments? Peter, you also have experience with headhunting or recruitment, no?
Okay.
I have a little, yes.
Yeah, I just thought, did you want to contribute your view?
Okay, so my experience on the headhunting side is UK-based, senior levels. It's a case of the headhunter reaching out subtly and carefully, identifying through various routes who might be suitable first. There's a huge amount of networking involved in doing it properly. So it's more of a pull than a push, if you like. I think the challenge is actually on the push side. You know, I am somebody looking for a job. Which headhunter should I contact? How do I build a relationship with a headhunter? How do I keep top of mind with a headhunter? I think these are pretty challenging questions for anybody who's going down that route. And it's easy to say, oh yes, you should identify and then build a relationship. I think the practice is really challenging, and I don't know whether you have any guidance on that.
Well, I would say it takes time, and it takes finding the right fit. I know people who have used, so to speak, the same headhunter or recruitment agent to facilitate a number of their transitions. I, as a career coach, have also worked with a few clients to help them with a number of their transitions, not just one. So it does, I agree, Peter, it does make sense to invest in identifying one or two key people with whom you can develop this relationship. And often the relationship goes beyond the company they work for, because they may change roles or other companies, but then they will remember you as a client. And they may reach out in 3 years' time or 2 years' time or 5 years' time, or you may reach out to them and then, again, learn about new opportunities through them.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you.
No worries. And thank you for your contribution.
No, but
any
thank
other questions?
you. Yeah, I think, is there any other question? If not, I'm just adding that next week on Wednesday evening, we have a webinar on interview success in the UK. If anyone wanted to participate, maybe in the follow-up email where I'll send you the recording of this session, I'll put a link to it because it's a free session led by Victoria Reynoldsson and Catherine Dubray. And it's not just job interviews, but it's really how to deal with the British culture when you are asked questions. So it's more. It's certainly career related, but also very cultural. Thank you, Jelena. This was really good and very insightful, and I hope everybody liked it. If you have any other comments or questions, now is the time to step in. Otherwise, we say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for being here. And see you next time. So yeah, I see a comment here. Well done, focus. Thank you, and lovely to see you all here and to participate despite the wonderful weather.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, first of all, Gail and Maria, for having me. And I look forward to our continuing cooperation. And thank you, everyone who participated and invested your time in this. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Ask me whatever you need. If I have it, I'll send it to you. I love sharing resources. I create a lot of content. So you could benefit from that, if not anything else.
Sure. Follow Focus as well on LinkedIn.
Great tips as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
so
everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Have a lovely day. Enjoy the sunshine. Bye-bye.
much. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.